Everything you think you know about warming up your car is probably wrong, and following outdated advice is actually damaging your engine while wasting fuel and polluting the environment. The myth that you need to idle your car for 5 to 10 minutes before driving has persisted for decades, but modern fuel-injected engines require a completely different warm-up procedure than the carbureted engines of the past. According to the Department of Energy and automotive engineers, idling your car for more than 30 seconds wastes more fuel than restarting the engine, produces unnecessary emissions, and accelerates engine wear rather than preventing it. The correct way to warm up a modern car is surprisingly simple and goes against everything your dad taught you. Start the engine, wait 15 to 30 seconds for oil to circulate, then drive gently until the engine reaches operating temperature. That's it. No long idling periods, no revving the engine, just drive it normally at moderate speeds. This method warms the engine 2 times faster than idling, uses less fuel, produces fewer emissions, and actually causes less wear on engine components. Keep watching because I'm going to explain the science behind why this works, address common concerns about cold weather, and show you the data that proves this is the only correct method for modern vehicles. Hey, if you like this kind of straight-to-the-point content with no BS, help me out here. Subscribe to the channel right now. It takes 2 seconds and guarantees you won't miss any tips that could save you some serious cash. Let me start by explaining why the old advice about warming up your car no longer applies to modern vehicles. In the past, cars used carburetors to mix air and fuel. Carburetors are mechanical devices that rely on precise fuel-to-air ratios to run properly. When the engine and fuel were cold, the carburetor couldn't atomize the fuel effectively, causing rough running and stalling. The solution was to let the car idle with the choke engaged, enriching the fuel mixture until the engine warmed up enough to run smoothly. This process typically took 5 to 10 minutes depending on temperature. However, carbureted engines largely disappeared from American vehicles by the mid-1990s. Modern cars use electronic fuel injection with computer control. These systems have temperature sensors that monitor engine coolant temperature, intake air temperature, and other parameters. The engine computer uses this data to automatically adjust the fuel mixture for optimal performance regardless of temperature. When you start a cold fuel-injected engine, the computer instantly provides the exact fuel mixture needed. The engine runs smoothly from the moment it starts. No warm-up idling required. The oil circulation system also works differently than people think. Many believe you need to idle the engine to get oil circulating before driving. This is partially true, but misunderstood. When you start the engine, oil pressure builds within seconds. Modern engines have oil galleries and passages designed to deliver pressurized oil to all critical components almost immediately. After 15 to 30 seconds, oil pressure is established and all bearings, camshafts, and valve train components are being lubricated. Continuing to idle beyond this point provides no additional benefit. In fact, idling keeps the engine in its least efficient operating state, running rich and not reaching optimal temperature. Now let's look at what actually happens when you idle a cold engine for extended periods. First, the engine warms up very slowly because it's not under load. An idling engine produces minimal heat compared to an engine that's working to move the vehicle. It can take 10 to 15 minutes of idling to reach operating temperature, whereas driving gently brings the engine to temperature in 3 to 5 minutes. Second, during this extended cold period, the fuel mixture is very rich, meaning excess fuel that doesn't burn completely. This unburned fuel washes oil off cylinder walls, dilutes the oil in the crankcase, and creates carbon deposits. These deposits build up on pistons, valves, and in the combustion chamber, reducing efficiency and potentially causing problems. Third, catalytic converters need to reach approximately 600 degrees Fahrenheit to function properly. When idling, the cat warms up extremely slowly. During this time, your vehicle produces significantly higher emissions because the catalyst isn't working. When you drive the car gently, the catalytic converter reaches operating temperature much faster, reducing total emissions. According to testing by the Department of Energy, the Environmental Protection Agency, and independent automotive research organizations, the optimal warm-up procedure for modern vehicles is as follows. Start the engine and let it idle for 15 to 30 seconds. This allows oil pressure to build and oil to reach all engine components. After 30 seconds, begin driving, but drive gently. Keep engine RPM below 3,000, accelerate gradually, and avoid hard acceleration or high speeds until the engine reaches operating temperature. You'll know the engine is warm when the temperature gauge reaches the middle position or the engine idle speed drops to its normal level. This typically takes 3 to 5 minutes of gentle driving. Once warm, you can drive normally. This method provides multiple benefits. First, the engine reaches operating temperature 2 to 3 times faster than idling. Faster warm-up means less time running rich, less fuel consumption, and fewer emissions. Second, driving the vehicle under gentle load helps the engine warm evenly. The transmission, Differential, wheel bearings, and other drivetrain components also warm up, whereas they stay cold during idling. Third, you save fuel. Idling for 10 minutes every day wastes approximately 1/10 of a gallon of fuel. Over a year, that's about 35 gallons wasted, costing you $140 at $4 per gallon. Fourth, you reduce emissions. Studies show that eliminating unnecessary idling can reduce a vehicle's annual emissions by up to 5%. Fifth, you actually reduce engine wear. This surprises people, but the data is clear. Extended cold idling causes more wear than gentle driving because of fuel dilution of oil and incomplete combustion creating deposits. Now let me address the most common objections and concerns about this method, particularly regarding cold weather operation. First objection, in extreme cold weather, doesn't the engine need more time to warm up? The answer is that the procedure remains the same, but you might extend the initial idle period slightly. In temperatures below 0 Fahrenheit, you can idle for up to 60 seconds instead of 30 to ensure adequate oil circulation to all components. But after 60 seconds, you should still begin driving gently rather than continuing to idle. The engine will warm faster with gentle driving even in extreme cold. Second objection, what about warming up the cabin for comfort? This is a legitimate concern in cold climates. However, the cabin also warms faster when driving than when idling. The heater works by using hot coolant from the engine. When you idle, the engine warms slowly, so the heater produces minimal heat for 10 minutes. When you drive gently, the engine warms faster, and the heater starts producing useful heat within 2 to 3 minutes. If you absolutely must have a warm cabin before driving, modern remote start systems are a better solution than standing outside warming up the car. Start the car remotely, then by the time you get in, it's ready to drive. Third objection, what about turbocharged engines? Don't they need special warm-up? Turbocharged engines do require slightly different treatment, but the principle remains the same. Start the engine, wait 30 seconds, then drive gently until warm. The key difference is that you should avoid boost, which means avoiding hard acceleration, until the engine is fully warmed up. Modern turbochargers have oil and coolant lines that provide lubrication and cooling immediately on startup. The 30-second wait is sufficient. Fourth objection, what about oil viscosity in cold weather? Doesn't thick, cold oil need time to thin out? This is why using the correct oil viscosity for your climate is important. If you live in a cold climate, use oil with a proper cold weather rating such as 0W20 or 5W30. The first number indicates cold weather viscosity. These oils remain fluid even at very low temperatures. If you're using the correct oil for your climate, it will flow adequately within 30 seconds. Fifth objection. My owner's manual says to warm up the engine. Some older manuals do contain this advice, but most modern vehicle manuals have updated their recommendations. Check your current manual carefully. Most now say something like, modern engines are designed to be driven shortly after starting, or provide no specific warm-up instructions, which indicates the old procedure is no longer necessary. Let me provide specific data to support this. A study by the Argonne National Laboratory found that driving after 30 seconds of idling reduced warm-up time by 68% compared to idling until warm. The EPA states that idling for more than 10 seconds uses more fuel than restarting the engine. The California Air Resources Board found that eliminating unnecessary idling could reduce vehicle emissions by 5 to 8% annually. Consumer Reports testing showed that the gentle driving method used 15 to 20% less fuel during the warm-up period compared to extended idling. The key to making this work is understanding what gentle driving means. Keep your speed moderate, under 40 miles per hour for the first couple miles. Accelerate gradually, not aggressively. Avoid rapid acceleration that brings the engine RPM above 3,000. Don't drive onto the highway and immediately accelerate to 70 miles per hour. Take it easy until the temperature gauge shows the engine is warm. This typically takes 3 to 5 minutes in normal weather, 5 to 8 minutes in extreme cold. One final important point. This advice applies to gasoline engines. Diesel engines have slightly different characteristics, and some diesel vehicles benefit from a longer initial idle period, particularly in very cold weather. Check your diesel vehicle's manual for specific recommendations. So here's the bottom line. The correct way to warm up a modern fuel-injected gasoline engine is to start it, wait 15 to 30 seconds for oil circulation, then drive gently until it reaches operating temperature. This method is supported by the Department of Energy, EPA, automotive engineers, and independent research. It saves fuel, reduces emissions, decreases engine wear, and gets you on the road faster. The old advice about idling for 5 to 10 minutes applies only to carbureted engines from the 1980s and earlier. If you're driving anything made after the mid-90s, you're wasting time, money, and fuel by following outdated warm-up procedures. Start your car and drive it gently. That's the only correct way.